What happens when you push consistent strategies to the limit? Hey, I'm Cyclon, and today we finally taking a look at a truly high investment, or almost truly high investment strategy. We're taking a look at Skittering Delirium Orbs, and I have to say the result has been absolutely insane. I know I say that with all my strategies lately, but I somehow get to, from one strategy to the next, it just keeps getting better. And this one definitely very interesting, but there is even more room up. But we get to that later in the video. For now, what have we run? Well, normally you would say Delirium Orbs, you go on Strand. Strand is a really good map for it, based on the layout. You get a lot more rewards compared to any other map. It's just a fact. However, because I'm only running 80, my main goal was to get to about 13 to 14 reward layers, and then also get some more consistent loot on the side. So this way I choose Cemetery for combining Skittering Delirium Orb Farming with Legion Farming, with Searing Altar Farming, and then having Gilded Divination Scarabs on top. Because based on my last strategy, it seems to be always worth running Gilded Divination Scarabs on Cemetery if you have a ton of monsters in your map. So, we took our Cemetery, we took our Polished Abyss Scarab, our Rusted Breach Scarab, our Polished Legion Scarab, and our Gilded Divination Scarab, paired it up with an Abyss Sextant, a Breach Sextant, a Legion Sextant, so to get additional Abyss, an additional Legion, and additional Breach, and then also getting, instead of going for the expensive option of additional faster Delirium reward, we went with, again because 80%, a slightly cheaper option of Magic Pack Size, which should affect the pack sizes in our Breach, in our Legion not that much, but instead on our Abyss quite a bit. And our Abyss is the main source of monsters we have. And with this we've got consistently 14 rewards on most maps, and on a few we only got to 13, but even then sometimes we got to 15 for trading in for a bit slightly longer map. Before we get to how we run the maps, first though, the Atlas tree. Atlas tree is also a bit unique. We are going fully in on Legion, as per usual with Legion strategies, taking almost all Legion nodes, except to save a point, the small Legion Sergeant reward chance and duration node, the nodes that give us the legions we don't really care about, and of course the general nodes which we don't care about in this version, as we really just want to have a mass of enemies and a very quick legions, as we are already giving them a lot of less damage taken. We can't afford the generals consistently to be there, and we can't really afford the double legion life. And then we're going to take, both from Abyss and from Breach, only the nodes that give them a lot of quantity. So we have a small Breach chance nodes and 2 more Breach chance nodes over here, actually 3. Then we have the big Breach chance node and the node that gives more Breach enemies, as well as the Breach density over here. And then we can combine it with a chance to get additional breaches. For Abyss, we have more monsters here. We have 3 null nodes with more monsters here and some Abyss chance over here. And then we have the big Abyss wheel, or well, Abyss chain up here. Now, for blocking in map sustain, we actually just need singular focus for the sustain part. It is more than enough. I have over sustained my maps a lot this time. I mean, usually I over-sustain, but this one was crazy. I even needed to solve some of these maps because there was a significant amount of our income. And then we have our sealed domain that we, other words. We can take here because of passive points. We don't want to block Legion, Abyss, and Breach, so we will just pass 5 points to block 2 more mechanics, and we don't have the points for that. So we're just not going to block over here. We're just going to block the other side, and we're going to take, sometimes we have an expedition, or sometimes we have a harvest, and we're either going to quickly place things in the expedition, or completely ignore both. And then, of course, we have the Searing Exarch over the Eldritch Gateway, but here's the important thing, and this is why I'm only now going to cover how we run the maps. So we have Imagined Pursuits. And this means that the way we need to run the maps is the following. We're going to start into the map, and we want to get the maps done as quickly as possible. So we're going to rush and clear as far as we go, and rush to the first league mechanic. The league mechanic of our choice is preferable going to be, or the priority I guess, is going to be we want to start an Abyss, So on the first 2 nodes of an Abyss, we're just going to focus on the Abyss and maybe loot a bit on the side. But when the Abyss gets to the 3rd times it opens, or the 4th times it plays itself, we can also start a Legion or Breach on the side. And with this, we now have the chance to clear the Legion and the Breach, while the Abyss is spawning enemies. In between, we still clear the enemies on the Abyss, but this is one way we can save time. Another combination we can do is we start a Legion, we clear the initial crystal phase, and when the timer pops, we start a Breach and we clear the Legion while we also clear the Breach, and also maybe loot a bit on the side. So we always want to be either running 2 league mechanics, or we want to do some looting and running 1 league mechanic. But we need to compress as much of the time possible, which means we need a very strong and a very quick build too, of course. But we need to run the maps as quick as possible, because our time spent in a map heavily multiplies the profit we're going to get. We get to that in a moment. But just as a TLDR, you have your Scarabs Sextants map, okay? And we need to run the maps very quickly, very compact. The faster we run, the more profit per hour we're going to make, as we make over a divine per map. That just said. Alright. Now let's take a look at our consistent and inconsistent drops. I'm going to make my base assumption on 8 here. 8 minutes per map is what it took me with an inspired learning. No Mage Blood, no Headhunter, just my Lightning Arrow Omni Deadeye. With a 1 inspired learning, took 8 minutes on average to clear this. I did 4 maps with it. 1 took 10 minutes and all others 3 took 8 minutes. So the 10-minute one I also was very close to 15 rewards. Usually we just go out at 14. But regardless of that. So I assume 8 minutes mapping time. Now if we get faster, the results get a lot more crazy. On 8 minutes, on consistent drops, so things that we are likely to get 1 per map or a lot of. For example, if we don't get 1 emblem per map, but we do stack up emblems quite a bit. We're looking at a 4.74 Divines profit at 8-minute maps. That's already pretty crazy on just consistent drops. Now I do need to note here, the way I calculated the Scarabs for this is I had PoE stack, and I took my Scarab, my Fragment tab, and all Scarabs, and I then said, what is 90% of the Scarab's value? As that would be the instant liquefaction method. And this is what I assume my Scarab tab was worth for the sake of the spreadsheet. And to get our amount per map of Scarabs at 80% again, we divided it by the amount of maps I ran. So with this we assume that we get about 200k or so, about a divine worth of Scarabs per map. Of course, again, based on my results, based on 90% of the Scarab tab I had at the end. So with this mentioned, we now take a look at 4.74 divs per hour on 8-minute maps. 8-minute maps. On 7-minute maps, well, we are already looking at 4.5 divines an hour. And if we get even more crazy, and if our build is strong enough and we say we can consistently run 6-minute maps, well then we're looking at 6.32 divines consistent profit per hour. That already is pretty insane, and that isn't including any divine drops, any Brother's Gift drops, or any Brother's Stashes. And I have to say, I think I found something out that is absolutely crazy. In my 100 maps, I actually got 14 raw divine drops. Now, a few of them were from Abyss and Breach, but actually a lot of them were from Legion. Either from incubators, or from just Legion chests, Legion enemies. So this is why I really like Legion, but that is a different subject. So we've got 14 raw divines, we've got actually unlucky with only 2 Brother's Gifts and 5 Brother's Stashes. Now, you would assume that they're about equal, so you would assume a 3-4 split or 4-3 split. But I got unlucky, fair enough. Let's assume the unlucky stayed, and let's take a look at our inconsistent profit. At 8-minute maps, we are looking at 6.68 divines. Just with our consistent part on top of a few divines, Brother's Gifts, and Brother's Stashes. At 7-minute maps, we're looking at 7.64 divines profit. And now at 6-minute maps, we're looking at 8.9 divines profit. And that is still not considering any lucky drop. So anything that isn't really something we expect, like a lucky unique, like a fractured item, maybe a synthesized or a corrupted unique, or any cluster that is worth something. We aren't considering any clusters in here that we're going to get a ton of, even some 84 clusters. So there's a lot of potential on the lucky drop department that I haven't even considered in here, that we're going to get to in a moment with the notable section. So now, if we just one more potential theory step. Let's say I actually gotten 3 Brothers Gifts and 4 Brother Stashes. Now we have 9.4 Divines. Just saying. It gets even crazier if you have a bit better luck on your Brother's Gift drops. So definitely the strategy already has a lot of potential in terms of just consistent rewarding. And then we get to 2 more stages where this in itself gets a bit more crazy. And of course there's also the potential to go for 100%. So, well, now let's take a look at my results. I've actually gotten 2,398 chaos in just notable drops. This has mainly been the shield Aura bots use. I don't know why, but I forgot the name of it. The one that they use early on, Prism Guardian, that's the name. I got a Prism Guardian, I corrupted it with +2 auras, so that was a fairly lucky drop. I also gotten quite a few from the unique small cluster jewels, and I've volted all of them. And I've gotten interrogation, risk corrupted blood cannot be applied to you, so that was another 4 divine. So those were my notable lucky drops. And I did got, I think it was 60 Grand Eldritch Ember that sold for 1 more divine. So we made a bit of divines with those. So I guess that's still a somewhat reasonable notable drop state in 100 maps, especially considering how many just small cluster jewel I got. I think I got 15 or so, and 1 good corrupt in that. I would say that is somewhat reasonable. But anyway, I've made, with my notable drops on top, in my assuming 8 minutes per map, 8 divines profit. Now if we say, okay, that wasn't what I wanted to replace. If we assume I had some maps that were also faster, or I upgrade my build and I run this again, at 7 minutes I would have made 9.1 divines profit. And if I make my build absolutely crazy and I could get my maps down to 6 minutes on average, I would have made 10.7 divines profit per hour. And I think 6-minute maps is definitely doable if I do some adjustments to the build. If I get the rage setup instead of a rampage setup and just have consistently faster time, I'm looking at a lot more. And then we get even to the more crazy part, which is the things I would adjust. If I would go for 100% Delirium, which is my next strategy by the way, I will be doing it, I haven't run it yet. 100% Delirium maps with the similar setup, just I think dropping Legion, and maybe finding a replacement for that is a little bit less point intensive. Words are hard, sorry. And also going for Strand and dropping the Divination Scarab, because Strand doesn't really have a good div card we want. And really just focus really hard on those daily rewards, getting even more Scarabs. Because, and this is the last thing to hear, if I've added my spreadsheet, I'm going to turn the dark mode off for a moment, so it's not a negative. I've had quite a few Scarabs dropped. And actually, on my gilded, I mean I sustained everything else, but on the gilded Divination Scarabs we got 82 back. If I would have run the double the 100% faster Delirium rewards, or if I would have run 100 daily orbs, I think I could have even sustained the gilded div Scarabs. And that is pretty insane on a self-sustained stasis. So I could just, any Scarabs, as long as I have Rage and Abyss to fill my map with, I should be able to sustain any other Scarabs I add to it. Any gilded Scarabs I add to it should be sustainable. And Polished and Rusted, of course, are super sustainable. 600 Rusted on average, 200 Polished on average per Scarab. And that isn't even considering any upgrading or any sideboard trading with 2 Scarabs and a Horizon Orb. So this strategy has just thrown me off, have just really surprised me well how profitable it is. And this brings us to in-game. Because now we take a look at the actual profit I've made. I took the extra time. And I sold my Scarabs myself. I didn't went to TFT and just sold all in one go. I sold them myself to see if it's worth it selling them yourself, or if it's just better to don't take the extra time, instantly get rid of it, get new supplies, and run the next batch of maps. And the result been interesting. So, the first number we need to be aware of is this number. This is, based on the spreadsheet, my profit. My profit has been 23,094 chaos. Now if we turn that in divines at assuming a 220 chaos to a divine, we're looking at 104 divines profit. That's already nothing to scoff at. 100 divines, it's basically a little bit more than one divine per map. 104 divines is a little bit more than one divine per map. Really amazing strategy, and still considering 8-minute maps, it's decent, and of course can be improved the stronger the build gets. But now we look at in-game, and my 6,856 chaos is worth 31.1 divine. Now, this thing costed me 55 divines, so I have placed those here. So we have 75 divines, plus 31 divines, 106 divines. Now this is only very slightly more than the 104 divines, or well, almost 105 divine. So I would say for any player that isn't having a trader buddy or doesn't just trade on the side as maybe it's enjoyable for them, don't sell them manually, just get somebody to buy them for 90% everything and get rid in one go, and you should be good to go. And you can run even more maps and have even more fun juicing your map to the limit. So that much for consistent farming. Very profitable and very fun. I even made level 100. Posted a screenshot of that on my Discord. I was really happy when I achieved it. No 5-way, just level 100 achieved solely with Delirium Orb farming. But anyway. Now, if I've forgotten everything, of course, could happen. If I've forgotten everything, or if you have any other question, feel free to ask me in the comment section, on Discord, over PM, or over my Discord server, of course in-game or when I'm online, or live on Twitch when I'm streaming. All that being said, have a wonderful day, and I see you in the next video.